Oh, and David, you're on there, hi. So just probably watching to see if I did it right this time.
Okay, I'm going to bring the City Council meeting for July 2nd, 2018 to order. Roll call, please.
Councilor Westover,
Here.
Councilor Warren,
Here.
Councilor Baker,
Here.
Councilor Snyder,
Yeah, here.
Mayor Luz,
Here.
Councilor Shunk and Cameron are on excused absence.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have presentations this evening. Our liaisons was
Not here.
First of here, not here. Okay. Now, public comments. Anybody from the public want to speak? Okay, so public comments. Next up is the consent agenda. Anybody want to leave the consent agenda? On the session? I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved unanimously. Thank you. Next up, how we do this? Great, thank you. Next up is new business, South Stage Extension Process Summary. Aaron, well, just be safe to begin with, that this is sort of the end of an era and sort of a new era. This is our last meeting here in this building. It should be anyway. Hopefully everything's done ready to go on the 16th. So we're out of it. It's 2010. Everything was built in building for meetings. Those days are done. The public can hopefully find us more easily over at the new Civic Center. We'll be in there at the meeting as the 16th of July. And Aaron is joining us. Thank you for coming along and congratulations. Welcome aboard. Appreciate you joining us for a long time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
For the South State process.
Yep.
I think we've got, is it Ray or we
Good.
can Kelly?
Kelly Manning and Court Trim from the city that are here tonight. It would be appropriate for them to come in here and give you folks an update on how quickly they move forward with the South Stage Road Extension project. The project's been included as a larger master plan corridor program that reaches all the way from the South Stage Extension starting at 99, the South Stage's current location, extending across the creek and across I-5 to the east, and then it intersects with North Phoenix Road and then proceeds all the way up North Phoenix to the foothills. So they've included this project as a larger regional corridor program, and part of that process is intended to support the application for build grants that they're moving forward on. And it's happened quite quickly. We've put an awful lot of time and effort and support into moving forward a concept of this nature. And I thought that it'd be very appropriate to show that to you folks at this time, since our application is going to go in presumably this month, and the build grant opportunity is to be decided upon before the end of the year. So things are moving very, very rapidly now. The last time I spoke to somebody about this, the project was not included in their TSPs. And they've since gone through a draft TSP where they re-included this project in it. So it has a significant impact on our interchange and our volume and capacity availability. And you're all familiar with the documentation I put forward to you on that. If you're not, you can certainly talk about it. But I wanted to bring Kelly and Corey up here as the authorities on exactly where they're going to and give you a brief presentation of this specific section of the overall corridor that most directly affects us for the South State Road extension. So, Cory, Ellie?
Welcome, guys.
Will be the mayor and city council.
Thanks for coming.
Aaron, congratulations.
Thank you, congratulations to you too.
All right, thank you. So today, Cory and I are here to talk about the South Stage overcrossing and kind of just give you a brief synopsis of the project itself and where we are right now with this project moving ahead. So if you can see this overview, this yellow,
What lights on?
maybe that would be okay. So here is the proposed South Stage overcrossing going over Bear Creek and over I-5, coming along here and connecting to North Phoenix Road. It's quite a large project. It's quite a large undertaking. Crossing over that distance of floodplain and creek and a freeway, an interchange, is a very complex, costly, and time-consuming project. Usually projects of this nature are done by the state, frankly. This is an ambitious project being taken on by the city of Medford. And one of the reasons, probably the main reason we're taking it on, and again, this project has been on our books for over 15 years. This is the main reason we're taking it on. And you can see that this purple area is our MD5. It's an area that was until very recently just an urban reserve area, much like your PH5, which will be on the next slide. But now this area is, most of this area is in our urban growth boundary. Our urban growth boundary was acknowledged by the state recently. That's MD5 and PH5. You can see there's a lot of vacant land ready for development. One of the issues with future development is unless there is an overcrossing or some sort of alternative route to get people from this area to maybe the west side of the freeway, the development will be limited in this area, both for the city of Medford and the city of Phoenix. So here is a conceptual flyover. This little video that we staff put together. I have to click it just in the right area. Okay, there we go. And we're driving the speed limit here, I want you to know, as we drive through this. But you'll see this bridge is very long. It's about a quarter of a mile before it lands on the other side of the freeway. And you can see the purple area is MD5. Your area, PH5, is to the south of here, but would be benefited by the South Stage overcrossing. This is just a conceptual plan for this area. And then again, this road would tee into North Phoenix Road. This is about a $50 million project, estimated $50 million. Like I said, the bridge is about a quarter of a mile. It's a very lengthy project and very expensive. The city of Medford has put this project in our transportation system plan, which we're currently working on. It hasn't been adopted by the council yet, but I anticipate that happening hopefully in the end of September, early October. And it will be in our TSP as a project. Again, this is another visual of it. You can see it goes by this manufactured dwelling park, and then you can see the flyover, this bridge, how long it is. And most of the area is actually over Bear Creek. So an environmental, the NEPA work will need to be done. environmental work will need to be done for this project, which we anticipate will take 2 years and cost about $4 to $5 million. Once we complete that work, those have a shelf life, and so we're anticipating that, we would be looking out there for funding, because we don't anticipate that we can do this project by ourselves by any means. So the benefits of the project are, and these are benefits I would say to both of us, both cities, provides access to your largest urban reserve area and our largest developable area in the city. It deals with reducing congestion on Barnett Road and North Phoenix Road. So it reduces that congestion both in Medford and Phoenix. It will enable full build out of those areas. Like I said, without the overcrossing, development will be limited in those areas. It has strong development community support, and there are actually some members in the audience today who have been working with the city on that support. And then it links the east and west sides, because really, as you know, our valley is bisected by I-5. It's a pretty extreme line, and we don't have a lot of east-west connectors. This would be another one. Before we get into questions, I want to talk to you a little bit about where we are. Like Ray said, we've applied for a build grant. That's a federal transportation grant out of the Department of Transportation. This year, the grant amount has been tripled from $500 million to $1.5 billion. And the city of Medford decided that with the increase in those funds, that it would be a good time to request grant funding through the build grant. The maximum grant fund is $25 million. And so what we're looking at doing is taking part of our corridor, because the South Stage overcrossing is part of a larger project that the city of Medford has. And like Ray was saying, it's South Stage overcrossing going up North Phoenix Road to Foothill to the northern edge of our city limits. And then the county is going to pick up and do projects from there, because it's under the county's jurisdiction, and they actually have projects in the queue going all the way to 140, and in fact going past 140 through Atlantic Avenue and going up to the point. So it's a very, very large project. About 2 months ago, I went to Washington, D.C. and met with our lobbyists. We have a federal lobbyist. We met with the deputy director from the Department of Transportation. We talked about this project, about the build grant and our project. And he recommended, we said, we kind of have two things happening. We have the corridor project, where the city is programmed $10 million for part of that corridor. The city, in fact, took out a loan, which was the first time we've ever done something like that, because it was cheaper. Took out a loan to build a $10 million piece of the project, and we talked about doing more of that corridor. We also talked about the South Stage overcrossing and wanting to do the environmental work, which is probably $3 to $4 million. He recommended that we put those together, because we had talked about applying for a build planning grant for just the South Stage overcrossing and the environmental work that was necessary, or is necessary. But he recommended that we put it all together and apply for the $25 million. We are planning on using the $10 million that we borrowed as match, because we haven't spent it yet, and it's basically not federal dollars, or our dollars that we're paying back, which is a big chunk of change in terms of a match. It's very well timed, I think. And so we are putting together that build grant right now. Ray provided us a letter of support, and it's much like the letters of support that you all have provided the city for many years. And we are moving forward. with that grant. And so just wanted to apprise you of that, of this project that we have. And I think really looking at it, we are looking at this project as a multi-jurisdictional project. We have lots of partners, so Phoenix will be one of our partners. ODOT is a partner. The private owners in MD5 are partners with us. And so it was just timely that Ray had asked us to come and make a presentation here, just to give you an idea of what the project is and what we're doing. Corey, what did we add? Thank you. And I gave you Corey's contact information. If you have any questions later on and you want to contact him, or you can contact Ray and Ray can contact Corey.
Just a couple questions. Will the county help out financially with the overpass?
We have talked to them. At this juncture, they have not come forward with money. They may help us with right-of-way, but they haven't come forward with any dollars.
And if I could add, the construction part of the south stage is still 3 or 4 or 5 years out. But once if we do this NEPA work completed with this grant, that's going to help reduce actually the construction because NEPA plans doesn't last forever. We wait too long. We do a lot of it.
It's my understanding that if you want to build on the east side, you have to show some steps toward doing the overpass on the edge, studies and whatnot. It doesn't have to be finished in order to build out or start building out. Like, correct?
To an extent, what's going to happen at some point is ODOT's going to start landing on their facilities, their premises standards. So it might be that the city says you're okay, and the ODOT doesn't because of something that they're going to change and whether we're going to change not function for the service.
There's certain pinch points traffic-wise where you have to be trips allocated to certain intersections. If you don't meet the amount of trips, then you can't build.
Correct.
Right? And what this is designed to do is allow Medford and Phoenix to build out those areas. If we don't do that, those pinch points are not going to improve and you can't build.
I would say both of our traffic studies support the fact that without South State, neither of us, you're not going to be able to fully develop PH5 and you're not going to be able to fully develop FD5. And the real critical part is we're using those 2 freeways. There's no east-west crossing between our 2 freeway changes. So those are not only freeway interchanges, but the east-west crossing by far.
Phoenix being as poor as it is, can't afford very much, and you guys are going to want some money from us at some point. So just go easy now.
I would say we're counting on future cooperation, but
And
we're willing to pay for part.
and we're not coming today to ask you for money at this
You
point.
brought the checkbook.
Unless you want to, yes, we'll always take money. But right now, I just wanted to apprise you of the project. We are, like I said, we are moving forward through the build grant project process, and we have the county has a portion of Foothill that they're working on, that we're going to include in our project as well, because we are not a rural project, strangely enough, which is bizarre, because we would be competing with cities like Atlanta or Los Angeles, but we aren't considered rural. But we're going to try to include some rural aspects of this. Compared to lots of places in the United States, we are pretty rural. But for the purposes of this grant, we aren't urban. And so we want to be as competitive as possible.
And one thing I want to emphasize is we are actually going to try to build places for the road for this grant. About 3 or 4 million we're going to do environmental work for the south stage.
Any questions?
I guess the general question is how can we be supportive? How can we support you guys to put this in place of building forward?
Well, you provided a letter to us. I think right now that's great support. You know, I think there may be an opportunity to provide some funding for a match to build grants, should we get it, for the environmental. It's gonna cost between either $2 and $4 million of the money that we're asking for. But we don't have any idea if we're gonna be successful with the grant. It's a very political process. I was told that last year, I think of the 250 or some odd applications for TIDER, who was then known as TIDER, 146 of them made it on the Secretary of Transportation's desk, and she just selected the ones that she selected. So that tells me that 146 met the minimum qualifications, and it was just a political decision. But I think Oregon is well positioned congressionally to maybe influence that and get some money. But we're probably going up against Portland and some other areas that would be in line, I would imagine as well. So, but we're going, I think we need to move forward. We have nothing to lose moving forward to see if we get the grant, but I think that would be an opportunity. And then as time goes by for that project, which is way down the road, like Corey is saying, you know, it's our project, but we will be, you know, looking for monetary contributors to that project, because at 50 million, Medford doesn't have even half of that to do that project. So we could be looking to other partners, including ODOT.
Oh, just a question. What sort of, we're talking about full development, which we want to. What sort of developments are you talking about? And is that, is it altered or restricted or promoted by the grants themselves?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Just what are you planning to develop out there? Is it business, residential, employment?
It's partly the job center, which I
Right.
think we had to share with.
It's South Valley Employment Center and residential. So it's kind of, I mean, I think you guys have like sort of that light industrial, campus-like environment kind of thing, and we have the same. And so that, the South Valley Employment Center is what was kind of anticipated for that area, and then residential, just like when you have residential in that area.
But in answer to the second part of your question, this doesn't change any development patterns, put any constraints on development.
Oh, great.
Oh, great, we got it. That's fine. Cool.
Let's sign it.
Just a couple of things. One, to me, it looks like when I look at overall traffic flow patterns in this area, that this overpass must be a really critical component of mitigation to maybe having high-tide bridge fall down in that particular earthquake. Is that a good assumption?
As far as the Medford Viaduct, was just good. The whole Foothill corridor would actually probably trying to get speed.
Yeah, so it does have high priority, in my view. Do you actually have possession of all the land that you need to build this whole thing on one into the other, or is that still in negotiation?
We don't have the land. I mean, the land just came into our urban growth boundary a month ago or less. But we have been working with the representative of the property owners in that area, and they are willing to commit to donating the land. So while we don't have it, I think it won't be very difficult for us to get. It's a great benefit. It's of great benefit to those property owners.
So it's a pretty high probability that you won't have any option to get acquiring the land. Just under notion of routes going, I didn't see any offshoots going to the sides into the urban growth down here. Don't you want to continue the road non-stop from one to the other?
No, there will be connections, but they will be limited to no closer than a quarter of a mile.
Okay, so I'll make those properties even more valuable to get immediate access. Okay, that's the one.
So it would be 3, maybe 4 for the entire line.
Most of the things.
That's what
And just wanted to make sure I heard you right on the overall project cost. You all are estimating 50 million, is that what you said? And then seeking 25 million from the bridge grant, and then you secured a $10 million grant or loan?
So we're talking about the corridor and the overcrossing. So the corridor, we have a $10 million project.
Gotcha.
Moving forward. And then we would be looking at most of the money that we would allocate, that $25 million would go to the corridor, except for that 3 to 4 million, excuse me, that would go for the environmental.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so ODOT actually, Medford actually, it's a bigger project for Medford, do some like ODOT project. Would ODOT be doing an inland project, or would you
We negotiate that. When we actually got there. Medford has actually done ODOT projects for ODOT, so we can handle a pretty large project. But then again, depending on the environment at the time, you know, it might be preferable for ODOT to do it, it might be preferable.
yeah, just curious.
One of the things I talked with ODOT about was would they, because they had come, when we had met with them, they said, you know, we have our money programmed out for 15 years or something like that, and there's no money for this project. And I said, you know, okay, would you be willing to manage the project like in kind as your match? And they laughed at that, and then they said, well, we've never done that before, we don't know if we could do that. So we may actually talk to them about that as well. I don't know if that's an option for them, but it may be. And they are very, Corey's right, we're equipped to do a project like this, but something this large, more often than not, ODOT does these kinds of large projects.
Any other questions from council? Okay, well, appreciate you guys coming in.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Ray. Next up is a discussion of the city manager evaluation criteria on page 35. Dr. Terry walked a little bit earlier today. I guess it's just a boilerplate blueprint that you thought was a good starter. You talked to Dave also, and discussed the video on
Dave,
that a little bit.
Dave wanted to make sure this one on the agenda pretty quick after I started, so he and I were talking about it right away, in fact. So he had some samples of evaluation forms that he had used in his career, and had seen some examples of things that he thought would be better. And I had used something like this and where I had worked in the past, and it seemed to work pretty well. I think what Dave wanted to make sure was that the council was reviewing my performance on a regular basis and had a tool for doing that made it relatively easy for everyone to understand. So anyway, what we decided to do was provide the council with what they had used in Klamath Falls, kind of as a starting point. I like the format, and so just wanted to have the council provide input on that, and what I can do is, based on your input, I can tweak this, to make it more specific to this body, this city, this manager, and bring it back to the council for approval, maybe at the next meeting or the next meeting, depending on what you guys think.
Well, looking at the Klamath Falls format, and I tried to say if I were having to do something on somebody that had been working here for 6 months, could I do it? And I got to the point, paragraph 3 on employee relations. It looks to me like that is awfully difficult for most of the city councilors to be able to evaluate without spending a lot of time with your staff, asking them how you're doing, and then watching that. It just seems to me that this whole block is a little difficult for us to evaluate, except tangentially, which means we're not doing a very good job.
And
I don't know how to work around that.
I think that Dave put that maybe in the agenda report, that particular section, it may be something that you guys just want to wipe, just take out. There may be some of you that have a really good relationship with the staff and talk to them on a regular basis and feel that that's something that's important, but you have a very good point. Unless you're at City Hall quite often, you may not have an opportunity to really address that section.
I would want to do it well if I was going to do it, but that means I have to gather a lot of data from a lot of different data points.
Right.
To be able to do it fairly.
Yeah, and all, 7 of you are probably gonna wanna, do that. So maybe it's not realistic to have that section in there, or to take parts of that section out. And I'm happy to, just take, I think it's section 3, so,
So it's a flavor.
right?
Well, maybe a way to bend that somehow, so we could actually be able to do something in that category. I'm not sure if these questions are ones I could actually do.
I think especially after 1 year, when we're in the full evaluation, I think we'll have to tap into some knowledge of the employees, that these things here would become relevant. So we want to yank it out, but for 6 months, how it might be applicable. Once we know something that for an employee, or I have. So I wouldn't want to wipe it out after 6 months, I think it might not be as relevant after a year period.
This is the thing, if I were trying to do it, I would honestly have to look at each of the department heads and some of the other folks, and actually interview them to get this kind of information. Otherwise, I don't know for sure.
We've done before, we'd have to do the mayor and the council president interview an employee or 2 or 3 or 4, and bring back the information.
I think it's important to be able to do something like this. I just want to think these questions are the ones that each of us could do well.
It's not uncommon for a city administrator or city manager to have, a performance evaluation done by the employees, by the department heads. So this might be something that, could be done in a different way, and maybe even, appropriate, maybe the council looks at that, but maybe isn't the one that's going to the staff and getting that information. So there are other ways to get similar information. Talk about this.
That's a good idea.
So, that, and so just to kind of hop in that conversation there, I think that this would be a valuable tool for our department heads to use to help you to work with it better. I see this whole thing as really as a team building experience, as a way that you communicate back and forth in a potentially non-aggressive manner. They're filling out based off of their experience, and so I see it as a great opportunity for us to engage staff on how we can work better with staff for your annual and from our annual as well. So I would encourage having staff actually have input in this evaluation.
I'm sorry. I like this questions, and I'd like to know how you're doing, how many management you're doing. And maybe we can redirect it so the staff does this and submits that to us as a report to evaluate their own reports to fill out.
No, it's just AI. Yeah, that's one way of doing it.
And there may be complicated.
Just gotta be careful, because you gotta go through the chain of command, and you gotta make sure you're not micromanaging an employee that's under the city manager's control. So you gotta be careful as to how you approach that.
I would just need it as a report back.
Yeah.
We're doing our evaluation, and we're looking for this information. Ray, you know better, or whoever it is, and have them fill this out.
We've done that before.
I like the idea of having an employee evaluation as part of our annual or biannual review process. I think that makes sense. That sounds like everybody's on the same page about that?
Anything you guys wanna change, I gotta think I wanna change. And we talked also about under process, number 5 on page 37, the mayor and council members will meet in 6 session, the city manager should discuss his or her compiled evaluation. After being dismissed, the mayor, so I just don't like that, we don't like dismissing. So Aaron's gonna change that language, so we're gonna meet separately from the city manager and discuss things, take that out of there.
Maybe start, you want to change the wording of it, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just don't see those words after being dismissed. We're doing an evaluation of the city manager, I just have a sense of how everything my heart. It's not, you know. Yeah.
And, I mean, is this something anyone from the meeting feels comfortable doing, is, basically asking that person to leave and then talk about it, or can we talk about it in front of people?
We could talk about it without in there. And once we do an executive session, he has a right to be there at all times.
Yeah.
So it's up to him whether he wants to go or not.
Yeah, I feel like this is example that we've done or unnecessary.
Also an option. But if he wants to stay, executive session, they know it's fine. But I would, so we'll just change the wording a little bit here. That's only change that one tonight. We'll go back to it for the recommendation. Okay.
So, does the council want me to take section 3 out of this particular document, but have it as a separate set of questions, or do you want to leave it in this document and ask the department heads to fill that out?
I'd like to keep it in, and after 1 year, when we're doing a full evaluation, then we have the employees work with us on that section. There are a couple of questions in there which I thought we probably would be able to answer. It'll be relevant after 6 months, but not many. Recruits and hires qualified effective staff. Maybe hires someone just amazing and we can answer that question. Delegate corporate responsibilities. I think we can get a feel whether you're trying to do everything yourself or is hiring for having staff do certain things, provide some support for these things. Seek some develop skills and ability for employees. I mean, it's maybe we have to talk to employees on that one there. There are a couple things that we probably could answer at 6 months if not relevant, we have any information. Just put that A or not enough information. That's a particular question. But I don't want to see it moved, but I think we're gonna need it after 1 year.
I would like to suggest that we really just get some questions towards more than their department head side of things, rather than council, since we're discussing, in order for us to really get most of that information out of there, I think it makes most sense for you to buy staff.
So can we leave this section in here with the understanding that we want to do an employee evaluation? They get to employ, we can read it, and then we can ask these questions as we're reading their evaluations and draw our assessment based off of staff's evaluations. So do you think it makes sense?
After 1 year, we do what you just mentioned. The first 6 months, I don't think we're gonna do that.
Sure.
It's a review good, 6 months before you do after
Sounds good.
Parliament is good.
So we'll leave it in there. Just don't like it.
Another section.
Sure, I got it. Great.
If something has not changed.
I'll clean it up. Make it,
Okay. Next up is on page 43, second reading and public hearing of ordinance 996, an ordinance of the city of Phoenix repealing ordinance number 911 and vacating Phoenix Municipal Code 2.14, providing an effective date of the ordinance. This has to be with dealing with the business development committee trying to see for even maybe. We talked about it, great degree last time around. Staff have any additional comments on it before I open the hearing? Okay, that's it, I'm gonna open the public hearing with regard to ordinance number 996. I'd like to hear from people who are in favor of ordinance 996. Hearing none, can I hear from those who are opposed to ordinance 996? Hearing none, I'm gonna close the hearing and open up the council deliberations, if any.
Good idea 2 weeks ago.
Just gonna go through the motions, right? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval on second reading of ordinance number 996, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 911 and vacating Phoenix Municipal Code 2.14.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Shunk? Oh, I'm so sorry. Counselor Snyder?
Yes.
Counselor Westover?
Yes.
Counselor Warren?
Yes.
And Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the ordinance, first reading by title only, the ordinance number 997, an ordinance of the city of Phoenix adopting amendments to chapter 2.2, 3.2, 3.5, 4.1, and 4.3 of the land development code, ordinance number 851. And Aaron, would you-
Well, I'm sure everyone's had an opportunity to review the agenda with what's in the packet. Kevin and
and then we're gonna do a one public comment on the item.
Okay, Doug McKenzie, planning director. Assuming of course that everybody has had a chance to look through the rather lengthy packet of amendments, I will do my best to briefly summarize what we're up to and then actually go through this as necessary, responding to any specific questions or concerns that the council has. I know we have some comments and questions from the public, so I may reserve a response to that, of course, until after they speak. So what we have in front of us is the result of many meetings with the Planning Commission to discuss and refine the proposed language. May have taken a little while, but I think it was a very effective way to make sure that everybody on the commission was comfortable with what is proposed. To the point that when this was presented to the Planning Commission, it was passed fairly quickly and with not too much discussion. This originated with a mandate at the state level through Senate Bill 1051 to address accessory dwelling units, namely the requirement that we no longer have discretionary standards for them, and that we allow them in all single-family residential zones. To that effect, the only change necessary was allowing them within the Hillsinger overlay. In other respects, we were generally in pretty good shape. Secondary reason is the need to adopt what we generally refer to as efficiency measures that come to the city through the Regional Problem Solving, or RPS. This is basically to show that we're using the land within our urban growth boundary efficiently. The third is a similar requirement coming down from the state, and this is a proactive effort to show that we are using what land we have efficiently to hopefully essentially look good at the state level when it comes time to expand into our urban reserves, namely PH5 and PH10. Now, I think it's interesting to note that while staff was working on this, we received some input from Eco Northwest, who has helped us with our housing element, and many of the suggestions contained in their recommended actions were already in there. So we were actually on the same page before we even spoke to each other about it. The biggest change is, of course, a shift from lot size standards to density standards. And this forced us, happily, I think, to make a number of other changes to the code. The changes allow much greater flexibility in what can be developed, namely that you could do cluster development, cottage development, zero lot line development, now that you either could not do under current standards or would have to do through a planned unit development. The new standards do not necessarily allow more density than current standards. They simply allow you more flexibility in how you achieve it. Most importantly, no existing development rights are taken away if we adopt the amendments as proposed, and the impact on existing property owners, especially on this side of I-5, is minimal, mostly because there simply are not that many undeveloped lots left. The map within the staff report that highlights all of our fully undeveloped lots only shows a very few. There are, of course, some that are not shown on that map that are large lots that could support additional development. We have a number of them, not a lot. However, we cannot force any of those people to develop, of course, and so they may stay as they are for years or decades. However, some of them could potentially be consolidated and developed or redeveloped within the next year. So lots of things to go through. One thing I did notice after the staff report was prepared, and this was a change that came out of the Planning Commission, was that we, based on input from the state, and actually probably due to an error on my own part, the original table 2.2.2 showed a minimum density in the R1 zone of 5 units to an acre. And that was an effort on my part simply to adopt a nice round number that was actually lower than what our current standards would translate to. So based on input from the state, we did change that to 5.5 in the table, but I noticed after your staff report was produced, in the language on the second page of the amendments describing the R1 zone, we didn't make a change in the text that simply refers to that density standard, so it actually still says 5 to 8 units per acre, so I'd recommend that we just make that consistent. I don't know if the council would like me to go through each page individually. That could take a very long time. If that is not the will of the council, I am very happy to oblige. I think it might be more appropriate to simply allow time for any members of the council to ask questions or bring up any concerns you may have with the new language. Almost all of the proposed changes are very easily shown by strike through and bold. There are a few that are basically just grammar corrections that are not in bold, but they are noted. They don't change anything substantively, they just make it a little easier to read, hopefully. So with that said, I will conclude my staff report, but be more than happy to address any questions you may have.
Were there any other technical changes you wanted to make to the first reading?
No, that was just one little thing that that wasn't brought up in the planning commission either, and so I didn't notice it until a couple days ago.
It was corrected for the second reading, right?
Just a correction, but no, nothing else.
Questions for Evan?
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I'll have to be honest.
I will be happy to answer any questions that come up later.
I thought I had a gotcha. And then the next day I went back and reread that and went back to the reference where I had a gotcha. And I turned the page over and the answer was there.
Okay.
I think it's actually going to be more easily read here, but you can, things you wind out and refer back to the table. And that was a
Well, and that was certainly the intent. Nobody likes code that's hard to read, or dislikes, I should say, code that's hard to read more than staff, and especially when you have internal inconsistencies. Doesn't make for a happy staff.
Thanks, Evan. Becky?
I just had some clarifications, I'm not real sure that I understand it.
We got one, pick your hand up and state your name and address, and we're gonna pass it around. We allow about 3 minutes for the public to speak on an issue. Glad you came, just say your name and address.
Do we have to have a public hearing on this?
No,
Yes.
not until the second reading.
Second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we do it different that way.
My name is Rebecca Chris. My address is 301 Pool Circle. And I'm basically just trying to get some clarification of reading this. It's my understanding that it really isn't a single family dwelling anymore, if you can add additional structures to the property. Is that correct?
Evan, did you want to address these questions?
I
We usually have a number of ways. Number one, we can send you to Evan in the morning or sometime in the office, and you can address these questions.
Actually, that would be, I won't be here in the morning because I'll be out of town, but I can address these. I understood that I needed to come to this meeting to get clarification for this. I'd be more than happy to talk with him on Thursday or Friday or whenever it is important.
But you continue with the question, but there's just a few of them answer tonight, and you have a right tonight.
Okay. All right, first of all, that is one of my questions, is if you can have an additional structure on your property, then you can't very well consider that. If in fact you can then turn it into rental or an apartment, then that negates anything that would resemble a single family dwelling for your property. I'm concerned about that. Of course, I'm in NIMBY. We have an issue where someone had gotten variance from code to construct a 2-story dwelling that was never ever supposed to be used as a living facility. It was supposed to be a shop at the bottom level and an art studio for the top level. But when I was reading this, it led me to believe that any of the variances or any of the things that have been, not applicable in the past was going to be negated, and if these people wanted to turn this into a duplex or an apartment or whatever, they could do that, and it's a two-story dwelling, so it's going to impact my property, my privacy, and also my value of my property. So I am concerned that if there isn't any restrictions to, it doesn't appear that there's very many restrictions to single family residential dwelling lot size, that we just don't really have much that we can do.
Mike, did you have more questions?
Nope, that's
Me
it.
too. Okay. I'm gonna have Evan address your two questions. He probably be very specific on the first one. The second one, you have to talk to them individually. But Evan, did you want to just take those two questions for him while we're at it? Sure. Thanks, Mike.
So I'll come up and I'll put you on your seat and I'll take it back.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll do my best. So on the question of accessory dwelling units in the R1 residential zone generally,
That would be the second unit that you want to build on your property. It wouldn't be a full house.
I don't wanna build a unit on my property. I want the code to stand as it is, so the people who are impacted by property right now cannot. Because
But I understand, but when he's speaking of accessory dwelling unit, he's speaking of a, like a cottage on the property.
I think I can get, so, the city's current standards allow accessory dwelling units. And that would basically be, a second separate dwelling unit with its own door not connected to the primary house. Now, that unit may be, within the existing structure in some way. It could be a basement, it could be the attic, it could be an addition that simply is not directly connected with a pass-through door. It can be part of the primary structure, it can be an accessory structure. The major limitation is that they cannot exceed 800 square feet or 50% of the primary structure's living area, whichever is greater. The house in question, the second floor, it is an addition. It is attached to the house, and the second floor of that addition may have more than 800 square feet of finished living space. I don't have any way to actually verify that short of going inside and taking measurements. Regarding the question of adding that second unit, an accessory dwelling unit does not make a single family property multifamily. And going back to an issue raised in my staff report, Senate Bill 1051 actually requires all jurisdictions within the state of Oregon to allow them subject to non-discretionary standards. So again, that basically means that we can't say we like this one and we don't like that one.
The state is dictating that we do what you do.
Right. We must have standards, and we must follow them, and they must not have discretion within them, so they can be reasonable. And have, they say, a minimum and maximum lot size and that sort of thing, but we can't say it shall look exactly like the existing house. Back to the house in question, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the way you look at it, some questions did come up about this house, and I believe I had spoken to the folks who provided testimony outside of the hearing, and was afforded the opportunity to do some research on the property. Unfortunately, that research yielded no results. The addition in question is probably 20 years old. Our address file has literally nothing on that house in paper, and neither could I find anything on our computer. So I can neither confirm nor deny that everything was constructed under a special approval or under the standards without requiring one. Neither can I confirm that any specific conditions or limitations were placed on that approval. And so unfortunately, regarding anything that may have been conveyed when that was constructed regarding what can be done there, I could find nothing. My reading of the code as it stands is that we would allow an accessory dwelling unit within that second floor addition, provided it does not exceed 50% of the primary structure's area or square footage. I would have to have an actual number on the area of the existing house to make the calculation. The assessor records still reflect the original house and not the addition, including the first floor. So I do not know what the square footage of that house is, but they did not exceed 800 square feet in either case.
Okay, and you're always available to, like, more questions.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
go on Zillow.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Zillow will tell
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna move to council discussion. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Before we close all discussion on this, I just want to make sure that the council is aware that I will not be here for second reading. John Anderson, our assistant planner, will be here and he will make a presentation. If there are any questions that the council is not, that either John or the council are not comfortable with, you and John have my full support to either approve it if you like it, or continue the hearing if you would like me to be present to answer some questions. So just so you know, I will not be here for the second reading.
Okay, nice. Discussion by council? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 997.
I mean, you need to do that with the addition amendment that he talked about. Sort of 5 to 8 units to 5.1.
Yeah, there's one change.
5.5 as the minimum.
Yeah.
So we could say what Evan's proposed changes of. Okay. I move approval on first reading by title only of an ordinance to adopt amendments to chapters 2.2, 3.2, 3.5, 4.1, and 4.3 of Phoenix Land Development Code, and to move ordinance second reading with Evan's amendments.
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Snyder,
Yes.
Counselor Westover,
Yes.
Counselor Warren.
Yes.
Okay, thanks guys. Well, staff reports. What's we hearing?
Nothing from your journey unless there's something you guys have questions on. It's pretty quiet in the western front here.
Okay, great.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
I've only been on the job like 9 hours, but for city attorney.
I just wanted to say,
You guys report.
thank you again. I also want to let all the counselors know that typically I'm available anytime. I've got city cell phone and I can answer whenever it rings. I'm usually available by email, or if you want to drop by City Hall anytime. My door is open to staff and council, so feel free to do so. If it makes more sense to meet at a regular time and you want to come in, you know, every whatever it be, Wednesday at 10 a.m. or something, just let me know and we'll make sure that we can sync our calendars and find time. So I'm really glad to be here, and I look forward to working with the city of Phoenix for a long time to come.
Thank you very much. We're on the table with council comments. There we go.
I don't have anything. I just want to say thanks for being here, Aaron, and we look forward to working with you.
Stuart?
Also have nothing to report.
I would just ask that on your cell phone you change the meeting. Your predecessor still had the old one for quite a while, and I kept getting confused. I was calling the personal number. So I have nothing else.
Okay. Fair enough. The River Valley State council governments that had a board meeting canceled, so I didn't attend that. There's no quorum. Went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I learned that the talent chamber may be disbanded, and we're looking to combine, or possibly combine, the chambers. Just at the end of infancy stage, I'm surprised that they're going to disband. It could be a vicious rumor, but I think it's actually true. We also talked about some of the little nuances or details regarding having a presence on the Civic Center, and we're still trying to work some of those things out with help of Timberland. That's all I have. By the way, most of our meetings do take about an hour, hour and 5, hour and 10 minutes. I'm sorry. You were here for the ride. Probably 1:30. You got lucky. Your first meeting was 1 hour. We did that for you. Okay, with that, gentlemen, adjourn this evening meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Did you enjoy your 2 hours?
Yeah. Oh, that's considered what they quote. That's what they think.
You're over here.
Yeah, I know, I was talking to a citizen, so I didn't either.
Don't let Jim leave.
That'll be the way you want to vote.
Jim, you can't leave. That's yours.
So, Kimberly?
Yes.
So whichever one you want. That's just the HDMI. Adapter. You need that, so you need to take one of the powers.
You're my new favorite, right?
Evans too.
The one that I got, it works, but I'm not like, it only goes like this, it only goes like that, I'm just like, oh, I actually was gonna take it for
I totally forgot about that.
Sweet, thank you so much.
It's all simple.
Derek, did you see my letter today?
I did. You know, that's big city northern politics. They changed the law late last year when Portland and Eugene. We're paying too much money, you guys need to figure out if we're gonna do it.
Send it out. My original secretary said it's like a writing my name.
Yeah, I don't think there's a signer.
I'm not a signer?
Wait a minute.
I'm cool with that. You should be on the
Thanks for bringing our guy.
They're right.
Jimmy, stop signing these.
The guy who works here, he was on FTEP with them for 2 weeks and then he
It'd
sold.
be nice to do it.
So that's saved money.
Oh, we're
Yeah. So that's 30 days to pay. And you would hire.
Like reading before you.
You know, that continues to discuss and California Supreme Court has basically stated, this is years ago, that one of the contracts.
You know what, Terry? I don't care on your desk, to your paper. I did put on your desk.
No reason to make so it's never been tested.
That's it, yeah.
That's all I gotta do.
Hopefully, man. You know, we know it's wire too well.
I didn't like
Yeah,
it.
And with 6 of them, that's more than half, but that's too bad.
I'm gonna take a break.
They asked me.
You have a great evening.
What day were the conferences?
Nobody worked on half of it. It was a couple of weeks. Oh, I know. But I'll find out. I'll probably send it on my post. If they're too large, so I'll send it to my computer. I'll get the date too. I'll get the date. I went up to. Oh, yeah, I can tell you exactly what day that was. She put out the lines up there. And then that was no, yeah, so Jim came. Jim's. But I can do it too.
That's why they have this.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be nice to get those in. I mean, you got good.
They're garbage.
Just water bottle, everybody.
Have separate, thing considered a box with that.
You know, I actually had tried to convince Dave to let me change the ribbon.
I can't.
Cool.
Oh.
You can.
I can't yet.
I did suggest everybody have some
Yeah, I
people.
There's that other cardboard,
Okay.
I have bills coming, I mean,
Yeah.
other meetings about the successful graduation program.
have you guys seen the lights on the lake on the road? They're about to stop.
You see the lights on?
Late. I might, but I'm gonna just take it for my ear. I will let you guys know that Friday for sure.
Well, to talk to them about the rising costs.